All right, I'm going to call the meeting of the Essex Junction City Council to order for Wednesday, March 25th. Any agenda additions or changes, Regina?
None from me.
Council?
No, nothing for me.
Okay. All right, we'll move to public to be heard. If there's any public that would like to be heard, please raise your hand online and I will call on you. Not seeing any. So you guys don't. Okay. I don't want to make that assumption. All right, we're moving on to business item 5A, which is discussion on Essex Westford School District request to voters regarding annual meeting day change. We're very excited.
We've been waiting for this one.
Perfect timing. So it's like you were waiting to walk in to be like, again, you heard the applause, you came in, so that's perfect. So come right here, Jemima. So
Welcome.
Thank you.
so first off, I want to say thank you. City Council, Regina as well too. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Ronald Versami. I'm the Vice Chair of the Association School Board.
I'm Jemima Talbot. I'm the clerk.
And yes, we wanted to bring forth to you guys, as you know, that we have a ballot initiative on the April 14th ballot to ask the community to move the vote, if they want to move it to Town Meeting Day starting in 2027 and forever forward in that point. So it's going to obviously to all three communities. We know there's been a lot of conversations in the past for us here in the city. We had a good, robust conversation around it, and we feel that while there is definitely a lot of issues at the state level that made it hard for us to make that move earlier, we feel we are in a position right now to be successful in making that move, and we know that there's definitely a lot of yearning for that in the city to make that happen too. So we wanted to come before City Council so we can answer any questions that you may have, the community may have. We were happy to answer that about what it means. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the long and the short of it. Jemima, I don't know if anything you want to add?
No, this is something that we're hoping to do to streamline the process. And I mean, we don't need to really explain it to you, but this will save us a little bit of money and hopefully make voting a little bit easier for people. So they only have to go once or, not repeatedly every month.
Yeah, perfect.
So with that, open questions to the council.
Does any counselors have questions?
No, I think we've all been waiting and yearning and
Patiently
longing
waiting.
for this for a number of years.
I mean,
And-
if you want to say your displeasure now and want to keep it as it is,
so
we're happy to.
we're ecstatic.
I can
And
put that out there. So.
I do appreciate that we spoke previously and you said, you felt like one more year. So for that to have come to fruition is fantastic.
Yep.
There's always a lot of media attention around Town Meeting Day. And so if we can get, as we keep our voting aligned with your voting, to get that moved to town meeting is fabulous.
There was a time when Essex Junction residents voted 5 times a year. And this change is something that we have been trying to accomplish for, 8 or so years. When the Essex Governance
long
Group,
time. Yeah.
the Essex Governance Group had one of their findings and recommendations was have a single voting day. So thank you. And we know how long it took and how much, every time you tried to think about it, something else came and took your complete attention away. So thank you for getting there, and we've been happy to wait.
And I just want to say thank you also to the council. I know that there's probably some pressure on all of you to move forward from community members. I know we've heard it too on the board as well. So we want to thank you for being mindful of that. And as we try to figure out the issues at the state level for our board, I will say this, that, for school boards across the state, there's about 122 votes overall between districts and supervisor unions, and then district inside supervisor unions. There's a lot that goes on. So with that being said, out of that, about 109 districts vote on Town Meeting Day. So for us, we definitely would be in line with the majority of the districts across the state. So we feel like we're really equipped to go forward with that there. So that, at least from that standpoint, the district is ready to make that move, and we'll agree that, from a streamlined standpoint, cost standpoint, and then be able to get advertising across the board. We think it's the right move to make, and it's going to help not only us, and hopefully if the council so chooses to also move the date there, I think it'd be great for everybody as a group, and I think definitely our community would benefit from it in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody, Brian?
Yeah, and I've heard it said sometimes that that one of the delays from the EWST perspective is that having it a month later makes it easier for budgeting purposes for you? Is there any concern on the EWC board on that topic, or is that have you come to terms with it moving it forward?
That concern's come up. It definitely has. I can speak not just as the vice chair, but also the chair of our finance committee, working with Heather Bushy, our finance officer, who again is absolutely amazing and does a lot of work on the state level too. Her team and the board are prepared to make that shift. We know we're going to have to get, if after the budget vote, if it passes, we're going to hit the ground running for next year right away. So there'll be no rest for us in there, but I think we're ready for it, and I know that we're going to support the district to the best of our ability, so they're ready to go to be in line with the majority of the state going forward.
Nice. Well, it does have the advantage in the hopefully unlikely circumstance that it goes down. It gives you more chance to have another vote, more time to have another vote before.
It gives us flexibility on that avenue. Also internally, it makes our processes actually a lot easier if we're voting earlier. Takes a lot of pressure off of our staff. Again, we never hope for a failed budget vote, but if it were to happen, we'd be better equipped for a revote and not having to rush the process. We saw that happen in the community 2 years ago, and when we had a failed budget vote, it makes it very, very stressful. And while any failed budget vote is stressful, we'd be better suited for it if the vote was in March versus April. So.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Nope. Okay.
Can I just
Yep,
add?
absolutely.
Just for folks, if they're not aware, on the city side, there is no question in front of the voters because the city council has the authority to change the annual meeting date. That's a charter change that we made a couple of years ago. So depending on where this vote goes, the city council is able to just make that change on their own, so.
Thank you. All right, I'll open it up to public comment. Anyone online, please raise your hand. Not seeing any. Okay.
With that, again, I just want to thank the council, and again, looking forward to the 14th for both of our votes, and maybe the last time we vote in April. We'll see how things go with the community, but again, appreciate your patience and working with us in that there the last few years. I know it hasn't been easy, but thank you for the work that you guys have been doing, and thank you for being supportive of the district over the years. So.
Thank
Just
you
wanna
guys for coming.
Turn that around too, and thank your
Same.
board for getting to this point where you feel like you're in a position to do this at this point, so.
It was hard work,
It's
but-
a lot of hard work and a lot goes into it, so.
Hats off to Mark and his team, or it's Dr. Holiday, our superintendent and the team. They've done a lot of work, and it's been prior to the superintendent caught before the work was already in process. So again, it's been a team effort, and we're happy to be able to bring this to the community to have the final say on that. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, guys.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Have a
Feel
great
free to
evening.
stick around, but also feel free to go enjoy your
You know what the meeting's like. We're gonna go.
I do.
do your thing, so.
I do.
Appreciate it again, everybody. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Have a good
All
night.
right, 5B, Brownell Library Trustees brief to the council. Karen, you're up.
Okay, I'm gonna try and pull up your slides here. And Karen, you can't see this, but Wendy is online.
Great.
so.
Hi, Wendy.
Okay.
Great.
There you go.
Thanks for having me. I was asked to share some challenges and some successes on behalf of the Brownell Library Trustees. So we can run through these, and I will answer questions afterwards. Trustees have been busy the last year, really trying to strengthen our governance and community outreach. Community outreach is included in the strategic plan, and governance is something that we have been working on with City Council and amongst ourselves to create policies and procedures that are clear. We're trying to sort of formalize and get some clarity around our organization and our parameters. So that's been a lot of work in the past 12 months. We are trying to take a bit of a load off of staff, so we are streamlining our reporting for meetings. We don't want library staff to spend hours and hours preparing a packet that only trustees look at, and so we're trying to fold in. I worked with staff to fold in what they do already and then create a packet based on that so that there's a little less time there. So that's been a success. And the Library Foundation, we have a new supporting nonprofit policy. I'll speak a little bit more about that, but we are working with the Library Foundation to align with that policy. And budgeting and aging building needs sort of were hand in hand. The budgeting process has been ongoing. It was more successful this year, it felt like, as a committee. That also has the underlying challenge of we're having to choose between some building needs and the collections, and there's not a lot, as I presented in my last presentation to you all. There's not a lot of wiggle room there, so it's been a challenge trying to figure out what to prioritize ongoing. And limited understanding of library funding, that's been sort of part of community outreach, our strategic plan with regards to education amongst the community. What does funding the library look like, and why do we have to do it in the way that we do? So that's been a challenge. And if we move to the next page, our achievements.
Sorry, I'm working in.
It's
kind
all
of
right.
a not awesome
We'll get
format here. There you go.
one of those achievements is that we are, I think, doing a lot with regards to education, both of the trustees. I'm not going to go in order here, but second from last, we started including a trustee education. So a staff member from Brownell comes to our meeting, and every other month we have sort of an education piece. And so they teach us something with regards to the library, which is helpful for trustees to go out into the community and then share with neighbors and community members and friends. So that's been a highlight of trustee work. Starting back at the top, strategic planning goals, that's been really positive. Checking in with library staff and being a supportive board with regards to strategic planning. We sort of reframed the strategic plan this year, so it's sort of a 2-pager, so it's a lot easier to digest, and it's easier, I think, for trustees to help support the plan. We do have 3 new library trustees. They're bringing lots of new energy, perspectives, dynamics, and it's a really energetic board. Again, with the governance and aligning, that's been really, really helpful. So that's been an achievement we have. Governance, we created a trustee job description, which sounds very official, but it also, when we have two types of trustees, we have a permanent board and we have elected board members. And so when somebody says, I'm interested in helping at the library, I want to be a trustee, what does that mean? We never had a formal document that explained that. So we have created that, which is really helpful. We're also working with our teen trustees to have a teen job description, which they sort of requested, and I'm helping support on that. So teens that are interested will also have a clear understanding of what that means. Just passed this new supporting nonprofits of Brownell Library policy. The trustees just adopted that, and really that is to help support library staff to set parameters and guidelines of what it means to support Brownell Library as a nonprofit, and protect the library from organizations that might purport to help but have other plans on, what their real mission is. And so we want to just make it really clear by way of this policy, and so that the library director and staff have documentation and proof that it's a legitimate organization, and also some parameters of working together, having an MOU in place, having trustees aware of these organizations that come forward and want to help the library. So that was a big achievement, and I really think has some protections for library staff and the Brownell Library. So that was nice to put in place. We are having a year-long celebration for the 100th year anniversary of Brownell Library. Hope you guys can come to some of the events. We had a kickoff party, we're gonna have a birthday party, we're gonna have a celebrate the 1920s party. We're gonna have a lot of parties this year at Brownell. So really trying to get some community engagement and support behind that, and really celebrate the fact that it's been around so long and been a really important part of the community. So that is exciting. And improved communication, that's been an initiative along with governance between library, staff, trustees, city leadership. I think there's been a lot more cohesive collaboration, and that felt like a big achievement in the last year. That has felt really good on all sides. Trustees have participated in several community events. We try to table, we try to be seen in the community, answer questions, education, going back to the strategic plan. So Meet Me on Main was a really fun event that we attended every week, and so many other events. I'm looking forward to more. I talked about the trustee education, and the Friends of Brownell Library were relaunched. We relaunched that organization to support some fundraising and community engagement. That's been successful so far. That started at the end of 2025 and has about 40 members to date, and donations are coming in, and we're just trying to support the library. Lots of people are engaged in that way, so a lot of good work. And I'll answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Elaine.
Can you, Karen, thank you
Yeah.
for all these great highlights.
Can you tell me the difference between, or maybe the relationship between the new policy for supporting nonprofits and the Friends and the Foundation?
Yes. So the new policy, the supporting nonprofits, the Brownell Library policy, sets the guardrails for nonprofit organizations to be in existence on behalf of Brownell Library, and to protect Brownell Library from an organization that says, hey, I want to help, and then truly doesn't. And so part of this policy is that the trustees have to recognize the organizations that come forward and say they want to help. Part of the policy includes the documentation that the library director needs, articles of organization, and the board names, and also sets some parameters around working with the library in terms of if the organization wants to have a booth or a room in the library, what are those parameters? And that there's an MOU that the trustees, the library, and the nonprofit all have to agree upon, create and agree upon. So it's kind of, it's like guardrails so the Friends and the Foundation are the two nonprofits currently that are supporting Brownell Library, and we just want to have a policy in place for library staff to know, okay, here's sort of the rules of engagement in like engaging with these two organizations. Here's what they can and can't do. That hasn't been clear to date.
Yeah.
And so this policy clarifies it, and embedded in the policy is the requirement that these organizations have to establish an MOU, and the director has to periodically review them. The trustees have to annually review this policy and make sure that they still are in good standing with the library staff.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? Not to interrupt, I'm just because we're here, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Just real quick, this particular agreement and policy, is this something that also comes through city administration? Because again, I know that this is a complex relationship that we have, but just thinking about the fact that nonprofits coming onto city/library property and doing these things are, is the administration in that circle?
Yes, city council, not city council,
Yeah.
legal counsel advised us on this policy. So we wrote in a policy, and then legal counsel amended it, and we took it to the trustees, and they approved the policy. So city was involved, Regina was involved and aware that this policy was being written, and many communities have this policy to protect the libraries.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So would it be possible to get a copy? Just, I don't think we've seen it. I just felt be.
I just found it.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
I was just
Posted?
looking for it.
Yeah, okay.
It's online.
And this might be too weedy, so if it is, we can take this offline. But you were saying that the Friends have been reinstated, and at one point, the Foundation and the Friends were merged together into one entity. So now there are you're back to having the Friends and the Foundation, and they're two separate entities. Can you just very briefly say what their roles are, what they do?
They both support Brownell Library in terms of fundraising, providing support. Currently, the foundation holds the trustee funds. The trustee does the book sale every year. The foundation runs the book sale room in Brownell Library, and so they have some fundraising. And the foundation was originally created to have large endowments and amounts of money held.
Yeah.
The Friends was originally for smaller fundraising events, you know, to cover certain small requests on behalf of Brownell Library staff. And so it was relaunched in order to provide sort of that pass-through of the library has asked for several small things, and to help with the 100th anniversary. We really felt it was important to have some significant fundraising so that those events during the year could be paid for, and so.
Okay, and so the Friends and the Foundation are separate from volunteers who volunteer and shelf books and
Yes.
Okay.
And there is crossover. I mean, we have some volunteers that are on the Friends and sort of do those
Yeah.
in tandem, but
Okay.
it's two unique positions,
Okay.
so to speak.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Lot going on.
Any other questions for Karen? Yep, go ahead.
Karen, thank you. I do have a couple of questions. So you brought up community outreach, and so I'm curious, and Regina, this might also be something, I just want to understand the community outreach piece for the library, because I can see a role that the administration could potentially play in this. And, you know, we've heard many times about staff being thin, so therefore I'm being conscious of like, okay, who's taking care of what and how this is being done. So I'm just curious about how we're managing this internally.
Do you mean for the Brownell 100th specifically, or do you mean something else?
No, just community outreach in general for the library. Because I didn't hear it as though it was specific to the 100th. I heard community outreach as a whole. So that's why.
Yeah, in terms of their tabling and getting around to different events.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, the city administration, meaning this side of the parking lot, I'll say, is fairly hands-off on that, and the library mostly handles all that themselves.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's also just when there is a citywide event or when there are community events, the library, we sort of, the trustees sort of take the lead of library staff. And if Wendy says, hey, there's an event at the high school, would you guys like to attend? Knowing that staff is stretched thin, we've sort of decided as a group, it's important for us to step up and be visible in the community, ask, answer questions, be available. Same thing with Meet Me on Main. A staff member couldn't attend every week, and so we filled in with the trustees and volunteers.
Okay, great.
So really just trying to be a presence and supportive branch of the city,
Perfect.
city department. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
That's all I got.
Tim? Brian? Okay. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank
Come to
you,
our
Thank you
party.
very much, Karen.
Yeah.
All right, next we have 5C, which is Library Department Head Brief to Council, and we have Wendy online. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, thanks. So I guess my memo was in the packet. I can review that. Let me just find it here. But I can just say Brunel, I feel like we're back to a very brisk business post-pandemic. Our visitors are much more of a diverse group than I would say we had pre-pandemic, and in many wonderful ways, but also some challenging ways. And some people need more support. There's a lot of government services that are available only online. There's a lot of confusion for people. So taking time to sort of direct people if they need to be on a computer, if they, what are the skill sets that they're bringing to using a computer. And then a lot of printing forms and just general questions, a lot of referrals to the outreach team if people are willing to talk to somebody. We haven't had as much, I think we've just had more people sort of like not in crisis necessarily, but potentially on the verge of crisis. So people we're familiar with that we know might have some struggles being in a public space, and then sort of the stress involved, especially when there's multiple people, but working just to check in with people with seeing what they need and just making sure that everybody can use the building peacefully. We are, as Karen mentioned, the strategic plan initiatives. It was a great process that we went through. I really appreciate the expertise that Karen brought to it to sort of really get everyone's top views of what the survey results were, questions and priorities. And so that's been great. And it's a short document, so we can refer to it easily. And so that's been very helpful, and we're moving forward. We communication, I think one of the things that came out of the survey is how many services people wanted that we actually offer. So it was interesting to us to be like, okay, we've tried that, or we did that, or we do that. So trying to figure out how to communicate better that these services exist and programs exist, and that we have materials that they've seen other places, and we don't have for the materials great space for display, so we're trying to be creative about that. And we also reorganized our circ desk, so staff are a little bit more up in front to greet people and be able to help them. And it has a lower area, so if people have a longer question, they can sit down with, or the idea is to be able to sit down with somebody and then not have to bog up the line of people that are just trying to get their items and move out onto their days. As we had a rough winter with the water in the from coming off the building. Hopefully the roof project will address some of that, because it was constant, and the melting off of the roof would just wash any salt away. And because of the incline of the approach to the main door, it would just go away. And so staff would regularly have to go outside. And then there was a point where the salt wasn't working. And so we had dirt, and that was getting dragged in. So it's been outdoor maintenance has been something we haven't really, it's just getting more. So we're looking forward to the roof project, should be done by June. So we were really disappointed last year when we were not able to get that accomplished because of the business that we had contracted with breaking the agreement. We're in a situation where our ILS that we share is the original team that started it in before that, it launched in 2010 and has grown to 70 libraries. So there's a lot more energy and expertise across the state that is getting involved beyond the original team. So that's been great to see that flourish and have people excited to help, including our own staff. I was involved with implementing the project, and it's been amazing to see so many new faces and old faces just coming to just make it a better system in general, like the education. We have a staff site that Hannah, our assistant director, helped kind of get that moving forward. And so it's been a helpful way to kind of tighten up how this shared system works, because libraries share everything. And so we've created a lot of systems that the Department of Libraries has some, but they have not really taken a lead in shared resources like our ILS. And I started the courier service back in I think 2016. The state's doing that now. So it's just working towards sharing more resources because that is the value of libraries in many ways. And then looking ahead, the roof replacement is hopefully going to happen sooner than later. We're going to be working on getting a new carpet, which is going to have to be moving everything downstairs. So we're weeding right now to try to limit how much is down there, and then sort of deciding if we want to keep it in the same sort of footprint that we have it, or if we want to move shelves around and what we might want to do. So that's been kind of fun to think about and reimagine or not. But the strategic plan surveys did say people are really interested in having it be not quite so dark, and better lighting, plants, that sort of thing, just because it's a nice basement, but it's still a basement. We have a couple of staff working with trustees on the 100th events, and so that's been positive to hear what's going on and who's involved. Our next event's going to be the Essex Historical Society is doing a trivia night. And so that should be a fun time. Our longtime assistant youth librarian Erna is retiring, and so that's sort of a big change coming up that we're getting ready for, and then just kind of enjoying our last year or less than a year now with Erna, and seeing like she really takes her work seriously and really enjoys every season she celebrates with the kids, and so we're down to our last couple with her. And we're also 50% through the Sustainable Libraries Initiative certification, which is that's been rewarding, and Erna's been really a great project lead with that, and Hannah, our assistant director, is taking over that. And we just keep trying to think how we can serve the community better and what we can access, and seeking donations and grants when possible, and trying to improve services both inside the building and around the building to pursue just making us more accessible to everybody, regardless of your socioeconomic status. Yeah, and I think those are kind of the highlights. I think if anybody has questions or
Questions? Marcus?
Wendy, I do have a question concerning, and Karen, you might have some thoughts on this too, but I'm thinking about the future of the library from the standpoint of, as we saw in this year's budget, and again, thank you for the hard work on the budget, because your department did a really great job of bringing in line and really making it work. But obviously, the digital part of your inventory is expensive, but more importantly, it wouldn't surprise me, and it sounds like, based on the feedback that I've heard, the demand is continuing to grow. And if that's the case, I'm just curious what your thoughts are about the future. What does the library look like moving forward? Are we going to be transitioning from a library of real books to a library of digital ones? Or what is this going to kind of look and feel like?
I think paper's not going away. I would say that for sure. This has been an ongoing discussion ever since ebooks came around. And while there is definitely an increase in use, I think a lot of people are screened out by the time they get home. And this has been very true of Essex Junction. I would say like our electronic resources really lagged behind other libraries, like up through like COVID just changed a lot of like the resistors had to finally bend to the devices. But there's a lot of people that they just want to have a book. Like I'm a big advocate of like, you could have 50 books on your Kindle and it's going to weigh the same. And if you get bored with one, you can switch it up. So I like that flexibility, but a lot of people find comfort in a printed material. And I know even like kids growing up are really like, they don't want to read ebooks at all. And so that's been I think they're just screened out at school. And so I think looking at the upcoming generation, I think that I've been surprised because you think of like, oh, they're just always on their phones or whatever, but kids really want to have that book. book. And I think there's a comfort, like there's definitely a comfort, and you can look at any sort of like early literacy stuff, but even like turning the pages of a book is something that brings people comfort. And if you have like Alzheimer's, then you may not be able to read and retain something, but you can still flip a page, and that's a familiar activity, whether or not you absorb the story. So I think there's definitely drawbacks for sure to electronics. Like if you are in a situation where you don't want to carry a electronic like a Kindle around or whatever, because it could break or get stolen. So I think it's an ongoing discussion, and I think for the most part, it's just mostly very frustrating because there's just more demand for more types of formats. As people, like some people feel better listening to something, or kids that have like any sort of learning disabilities might want to listen and look at a book at the same time. So it's just, as we recognize the diversity of our society, the formats just keep multiplying, but I don't see an end with the print just because of how many people I think find comfort in it and don't want to have that light in their eyes. So yeah, that's a good question. Mhm.
My experience and, watching the young people in my life and crossing paths with, they're all very much into their electronics, whether it's reading a book or not. And so it just, as I was reading through the packet and thinking about this, it was one of the things that came to mind for me. So I appreciate your comment on the generation that you're seeing youth actually grabbing books and flipping pages, because yeah, that's a good sign. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know when the state colleges were going through their troubles, they were looking at having a library with no books, and that landed poorly, very poorly. And um,
I just also, Wendy, we've talked about this as well, but just in doing research about electronic books with AI and libraries, I think there is a big push across the country to democratize the price of them. And so I am hopeful that while we see this increasing price pattern right now, I am hopeful that eventually that will even out and be a little more manageable for libraries across the country so that they can serve many different formats. So
That'd be
I
great.
just want to add that in.
Awesome. Thank you.
AI recordings and all that. So I
yeah,
think
there is more national that I think there was a big effort in the 2023 about a conversation of how, because everybody's struggling with how to afford the formats across the country. It's not unique to our region at all. And so there is definitely something, but the publishers aren't doing great either. So it's I don't know where things will go, but I do know that I feel like the youth and also are rebelling against licensing and just wanting to have something that they know the corporations aren't changing, because that's what happens as well. Like DVDs are becoming popular again because you can't get a lot of them. And yeah, and then like a book might change if something happens and like like somebody disagrees with it. So having that original copy that they'd have to track it down and take it away instead of just like changing the licensing and the text in it. So there's a lot of weird conversations and points about all of it, but I think that there's definitely like more resistance at this point of having everything be digital just because of the controls that are out of everyone's hands.
Thank you for the feedback.
Anybody else?
Okay, that was kind of, I'm
Brian?
good.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy, for
Appreciate
taking the
it.
Thanks,
time.
Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
Never
Thank
a
you.
shortage of activities coming from Brownell.
Enjoy the rest of your
The hopping place. Sometimes it's good hopping.
evening, or you can feel free to hang around for the discussion and consideration of the FY27 Enterprise Fund.
That sounds like a, doesn't it?
Fascinating.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
All right,
Bye.
5D. I think this is 55th time of discussion and consideration of the FY27 Enterprise Fund operating and capital budgets. I'm not reading all of it. And more in the public hearing.
Yeah.
Jess?
Hello. This is actually version 3, so I know it feels like 55, but yeah. I'm actually going to switch things up a little bit. I have Mark on. We're going to hit the EJRP program fund and senior center fund first, because I think that will be fairly quick, and then he can not have to sit through the enterprise funds if he doesn't want to. Um, so in your packet, this actually in the narrative is starting on page 15 if you want to reference that. But Mark and I have spent a lot of time over the last couple weeks just sort of catching up and doing crash courses on various things budget related. So the big change from, well, the only change really from the budget that you saw in February is that we updated the allocations for some of the citywide shared expenses. So we have a couple more things that we added in this year. If you'll recall from prior years, Brad and I had been working each year to kind of phase in some of these shared costs so that it wasn't one hit all at once to the program fund budget. So this is kind of the final year of that phase in, and we will continue as we go forward. We'll continue to look at those and evaluate those allocations every year during the regular budget process. So with all of that being said, the EJRP program fund as a whole is just around a $33,000 deficit. If you'll recall, we started on budget day at a $68,000 deficit. So some improvement there, and this deficit still can be covered by the fund balance in the program fund. It's about $1 million right now. We have a few other things that are going to be coming out of that fund, but still plenty left to cover this deficit. And then the senior center fund, again, no change here. I basically just updated the current balance, which is $17,317. Plan is to be using that for furnishing of the new senior center. So that is it for program funds. Mark, did you have anything you wanted to add, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Thank you for that. And thank you for you and Brad Luck and Regina for all your hard work and putting that together. And I'm just happy you were able to help me kind of figure some of those things out.
Awesome. Thanks. So while Mark's still on, we can take any questions from the council on EJRP specifically.
Questions?
Can I just say, welcome, Mark, to
The budget.
to the circus. Or yeah, no, and congratulations, and it's great to see you in this particular role. So I just want to say that while you're here in front of us, and really do look forward to hearing more about your vision. But really looking forward to the senior center opening and seeing how EJRP continues to be the gem that it is for our municipality. So thank you again for stepping up into this role. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Happy to be here, and a lot of exciting things happening in the very near future with EJRP.
I'll echo what Marcus said 100%. I'm very pleased with Mark.
No. Okay. Mark's going to jump off. I'm just going to open it up to public comment just for this particular piece before he jumps. Anybody in the public? All right, I'm not seeing any hands raised, so you're good, Mark. Thanks, you.
Mark.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good night.
So,
This is his first pass. The next one, he's going to be on for hours.
You can still online to hear that.
I heard that. I'm still on.
All right. So we can go back to the top now, and Chelsea's on as well for, I'm sure mostly the conversation will probably revolve around stormwater, but I'll just kind of run through the high points from the narrative, and we'll end with stormwater and capital, and chime in if you have questions when I go through each individual budget. So page 11 in your packet's the beginning of the narrative. we are at a combined utility rate, so this is water, wastewater, and sanitation, is at a 7.6% increase, or roughly $62 per year for an average household. Within the water fund, we had changes from the last budget you saw in February, of about $51,000. And so those changes were, we reduced the capital transfer, and we also reduced a postage expense related to the utility billing. So we're ending about the same as we were in the last budget version, at a 3.8% budget increase and a 6.2% fee increase. In the wastewater fund, we went through that budget, also reduced about just under $5,000. We did add a maintenance management program within the wastewater fund only. And then we also reduced the capital transfer, and we're able to reduce the estimated stormwater fee for the wastewater fund based on the updated and finalized stormwater budgets and rates. So again, here we're at about the same budget as you saw in February, with a 3.2% budget increase and an 8.2% fee increase. In the sanitation fund, we have cut about $53,000 from this budget. So we were able to increase the two-party revenue. So this was a project, as we've been working with the town to kind of figure out the correct calculation and really come up with a formula that can be used from now going forward. So Chelsea did a ton of work with the town. I just checked math. She did all the hard work. So we were able to increase that revenue line. And then on the expense side of things, we did increase for a root cutting nozzle, which was in capital previously. We were able to reduce the postage amount in here also for the utility billing. And then we also reduced the capital transfer in sanitation as well. So the sanitation budget is coming in lower than the last budget you saw in February. So we're at a 7.2% budget increase and a 9.4% rate increase. And then lastly, for operating budgets, the stormwater fund has seen the biggest change, and that is an total increase of $77,000 to this budget. So we increased for the vac truck camera, and then decreased for professional services, R&M, repairs and maintenance, and other maintenance categories. And we did propose an increase in the capital transfer here. So overall, this budget is an increase from what you saw last in February. It's a 78.4% budget increase with a 63.7% rate increase. So with the annual account review process that we did with the third-party vendor that we've been using, we completed that review, have all of the impervious area, ERUs, everything recalculated and confirmed for the next year. The rate is, as proposed, is increasing to $88.91 per ERU. And even though there was a significant increase in the budget itself, because of that account review and the recalculation of credits and impervious areas, we are just we're like 40 cents more than we were in February per ERU on the rate. So it's up to you guys. We can go on to the capital reserve, or we can take questions on the operating side of things first. Okay, great. So in the enterprise capital funds, starts on page 14 of the packet. We have Basically, I'll just kind of summarize the detailed list that's in the packet, but we have updates in the capital plan, or plans for current fiscal year amendments that the council has made. Updated pricing, we were able to obtain current pricing on vehicles and equipment, updated our debt payment schedules, and also made some updates to more realistic project timing. So as I noted previously in the operating budgets, we removed the vac truck camera and nozzle from capital, and moved those to the operating budgets because they didn't meet the capitalization threshold. So once we kind of narrowed down those numbers and got all the information we needed, we determined that we needed to move those to operating. And then we, as I mentioned, the capital transfers from operating to the reserves have changed in various funds. So in the water fund, we determined that we could level fund that transfer from FY26, so there's no increase there. We were also able to level fund the wastewater capital transfer, and the sanitation transfer we couldn't level fund, but we were able to reduce it. So we're still seeing a $20,000 increase in that transfer over FY26. We had originally proposed a $50,000 increase. And then stormwater, we have added quite a bit to capital. And so this was an effort on our part to just sort of give a realistic picture of what cash is required to fund all of the projects that we know of right now, and the schedules that we are somewhat tied to with some of these projects. So to follow up on Amber's question from the last presentation, that question was about what would it do, what would increasing the capital transfer have an impact on the potential bond vote, specifically for the Hiawatha project. So in the memo, I've kind of spelled out a couple different options just to give you an idea of the cost. And I'll hit those really quickly here. So in order to do that Hiawatha project on the timeline that is required in 2028, we could, one, absorb the full amount in FY27, or spread the cost over the 2 fiscal years, FY27 and FY28. If we go with option 1, the rate would end up being $286 per ERU per year. If we spread that cost over 2 years, the ERU rate this year, or for FY27, sorry, would be just under $215 per ERU. And then there is a note just for reference in the narrative that $50,000 in the stormwater operating budget equates to $7.71 on the ERU rate. So a change in either direction would be $7.71 on the rate. And I think that's it for the summary. I don't know, Chelsea or Regina, if you have anything else you wanted to add.
I'm just going to add, Jess, on Monday night at our informational hearing, I think I gave you guys we have been showing that preliminary impact on voters altogether, tax rate change plus the 2 other changes, and I think I said that it had gone up. But now that I'm looking at it again, like we were talking, it's going to go down. It's closer to 215 in total because the utility cost is only up 62, and the stormwater, even though we did a bunch of adjusting, we put a lot more capital in there with the other changes Jess was able to make. We were able to kind of keep that set. So you're looking at $215, again, for an average home. This is different for everybody individually, but $215 between these enterprise side of the things plus the tax side of things.
Yep. Any?
Can I-
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around the stormwater thing. And when we first started the stormwater utility, the ERU rate was something like $50. It was in the $50 range. Is that about, am I remembering
I
correctly?
think that's where we landed. I mean,
That's where we
Chelsea-
landed, but when we first proposed it, it was $80. It was like $75, 80. Yeah.
Out of it to ease
Yeah.
people into it the first year.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. And then, we're in the second year of that,
Yep.
Yep.
and it's looking like we will have to do the Hiawatha project. And so in the space of 2 to 3 years, the ERU rate is gonna go up to almost $232. And I just can't even imagine how our ratepayers are gonna deal with that.
That was no.
Yeah,
That's,
if we didn't, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so that was a question that I asked because I was trying to figure out, I don't know, I guess it goes back to, I think you might have asked this question at one point about how many things can we bond, essentially, like, what
Right.
is that capacity?
Right.
And so I was thinking about that as we have to do the Hiawatha project. I don't
Yeah.
think there is an option. We have to do the Hiawatha project. The question for me was, how do we not bond for it? And that's what that $200, I mean, that just is astronomical and
Right, but not
enough.
bonding for it, you're saying.
Yeah.
That's-
Like, just doing it over 2 years.
Exactly, exactly, yep.
There's just no way. I mean, I can't imagine that a ratepayer would, like, I'm sure they'll understand, like, what we have to accomplish. But to do a $1.1 million project by shifting funds to capital over the course of 2 years, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I think, and it was just that was just to point out.
Yeah.
The hypothetical what if, right? So
Yeah.
if we didn't opt to bond for this project that needs to be done, here's what it would look like in the form of a utility fee.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
I think
So-
the thing for me is that, I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we are going to see this kind of increase next year as well. I mean, to be in the $80 year is going to be, or for ERU, is where we're gonna have to be, if not more. We kind of, in hindsight, probably shouldn't have phased it as much as we did. And so now we're kind of picking back up from that, so. But I agree, I don't see a time in which we say, let's just not bond and we'll charge $230. But
Yeah,
I
no.
think there's no way to go below the 88. We can't not put the extra money in there to fund those projects through FY27. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I have a process question.
Okay.
So, in the motions, so what struck me was, so we're going, theoretically, if someone makes the motion is to approve the operating and capital budgets. But then we're gonna warn the hearing on the rate setting. If we get public feedback on the rate setting, that is not, that it's like, no, or F no. I feel like by approving the budget, we're doing it out of order. It feels like we need to have that public hearing first, and then upon that feedback, approve these budgets. Am I off base? I'm sure that this is probably how it was done in the past, but it just struck me as I was reading the motions that it felt a little out of order.
I'll let Regina answer that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pass it to Jess if there's any logical reason why it functions this way. Your question makes very good logical sense. But we've got to set the budgets first in order to be able to figure out what the rate is. And the public hearing requirement is technically on really only on the large water user rate, which really is only Global Foundries in our current, they're the only person who are tagged with that definition, essentially. So we have been in the practice of doing a public hearing just for all of them, just because why not? But it is a little bit of a confusing kind of process. Jess, I don't know if you have anything to add.
The only other thing I would add is just a reminder that the technically, again, not that this is the best or perfect scenario for the city, but technically the council is in charge of setting the enterprise budgets and rates. It's not something that is voted on by the voters of the city. So again, definitely want public input to the process, but that is kind of the reasoning behind how and why and when this all happens.
And while my 55 was not right, we have had 3 separate rate conversations. And does that include budget day?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, yeah. So we might actually be on version 4 now, Amber. I was wrong.
So much closer to 55. Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally understand. I wanted to be able to, again, reading the motions, it felt like if we were responding to public comment, if we needed to respond to public comment, then we have to undo our approval. But it doesn't sound like that's the case because we're just having a little theater, I guess. I'm sorry, it sounds terrible, but it's essentially it.
The other thing to keep in mind with these enterprise budgets, because they are set by the council, you can reset. You can go back to this process anytime during the year. So if we got even 6 months into the next fiscal year and something big happened and we were like, whoa, we need to pivot and readjust, we could re-budget and reapprove at that point even.
I think the tricky thing about these is that there's no ability, it just feels like there's no ability to do anything different.
Yeah.
If we sit here and we say, well, we don't like $88, like that's just too high, the ramifications of that are
Next year it'll be 100.
right. Next year it'll be 100, and we can't do the projects that we need to do to meet our MS4 or whatever it happens to be.
Yep.
And so it's just, I feel like there's like, this is a bad seat to be sitting in that regards. But
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I knew coming into this year, after we decided last year to defer some of this, that we were going to get this hit this year. So, no, I totally understand. I just wanted to clarify the process for myself, if nothing else. So, okay, appreciate it.
Brian?
Yeah, and just if I may rephrase what you said, just so that I understand it. What I heard you say was, if we have this public hearing and we get negative feedback, we can go change it. That's why it's done in this order, right? So that we can address Marcus's concern if necessary. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, and we are ahead of schedule for historic. If we look historically, that was very intentional. One, we're trying to get these budgets on the same cycle as the general fund so that voters, residents, taxpayers, ratepayers have all of the information at the same time. Also, it allows us to communicate this information much sooner than just sending an insert in the June utility bill. And then even further than that, moving all of this timeline up a little bit gives us more space when audit time comes, and if we do end up moving to town meeting day, everything will be in sync. We're kind of teeing up for that potential change as well.
Great. Tim?
No.
Okay. All right, I will open it up to public comment before I bring it back for motions. Anyone online? not seeing any hands. Marcus?
I'm going to move that the city council approve the FY27 Enterprise Fund operating capital budgets for water, wastewater, sanitation, stormwater, and EJRP program fund as presented. I'm going to move that the city council warn a public hearing on April 29th, 2026 for FY27 rate setting for the water, wastewater, sanitation, and stormwater funds.
Second?
I hate to be that guy, but
You want-
aren't those
what?
two motions?
You want two separate motions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean,
We'll take the enterprise, approval of the enterprise fund budgets.
Okay.
and
First?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. So then the second is the public hearing warning
So I'll
for
move,
April 29th.
you want me to reread it?
I don't think you need to. I think you read it.
Okay,
We're just gonna take it separate.
I'll second the second half of his motion, of his
Thank you.
original motion.
thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so both were unanimous. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to consent. Can I get a motion to approve the consent?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous. Council member comments and city manager report. Regina?
So just remind folks that we've got our vote coming up April 14th. So hopefully, everybody can get out and vote. Also, I just wanted to, highlight for the community, the third item in the reading file. It's a new grant program. I believe Locomotion is leading that, and it's really a small grant opportunity for community members to do like block parties and streets, revitalize streets for people is the whole concept. So we put that in a reading file because it's not necessarily something the city would do, but folks can go ahead and use that program themselves. So just wanted to bring attention to that, and that's all I've got.
Anybody else? I just want to take the opportunity to remind folks that we are continuing to do the food drive until March 30th here at 2 Lincoln to benefit Heavenly Pantry. So please drop some food off here. Appreciate it. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.